According to Dave Ramsey, we buy things we don't need with the money we don't have to impress the people we don't like. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin na to? Ang ibig sabihin na to, madalas tayong bumibili ng mga gamit na hindi naman natin kailangan, gamit ang perang wala tayo para lang magpasikat sa mga taong hindi naman natin gusto. Pinapakita din dito yung madalas na pagbibili natin ng mga gamit na para lang magyabang, imbis na mag-focus tayo sa mga araw-araw nating pangangailangan at sa mga mas importante pang bagay. Sabi naman ni Will Smith, too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. Para lang itong sinabi ni Dave Ramsey sa naunang slide na may mga tao talaga na bumibili ng mga bagay na hindi naman nila kailangan para lang magyabang sa taong hindi nila gusto. Gamit yung mga pera na hindi naman sila ang naghirap.
The rich acquire assets and liabilities. So, ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa na yan? So, based dito sa next slide, asset. Ang asset ay, ito yung mga naglalagay ng pera sa bulsa mo nang wala kang ginagawa. Or, for short income. Yun yung ginagamit ng mga mayayaman. Kaya, magulat ka na lang, marami silang pera. So, yung liability naman, is ito yung nagtatanggal sa'yo ng pera. Like, may babayaran kang tax, ganon, mga needs mo, and etc. So, here's the next slide is makikita nyo kung ano yung normal individual cash flow. So, syempre, una, income, papasok din yung jobs, dun mo kukunin yung sweldo mo, and yun na, yun yung income mo for the rest of the month. Tapos, yung mga expenses naman, like yung mga wants mo, needs, doon, mababawasan na yung kita mo doon, mababawasan yung sakad mo. So, makita mo dito, sa normal individual cash flow is wala silang asset. Kasi, di sila nag-invest. Tapos, yung mga liabilities naman is, ito yung mga nagtatanggal sa'yo ng pera. Like, rent, taxes, and etc.
Rich Dad Mindset, popularized by Robert Kiyosaki and his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, emphasize financial education and proactive wealth building strategies. Here's the general overview of his approach to business, stocks, mutual funds, and income generating real estate. Like businesses, Robert Kiyosaki advocates for entrepreneurship and business ownership as primary avenues for wealth creation. He emphasized the importance of financial education, understanding the cash flow, and leveraging business opportunities to create multiple income streams. Business acumen, risk management, and innovation are central to his philosophy. Investing in stock is crucial, but it requires a solid understanding of the market and individual companies. Kiyosaki stresses the importance of education and research in stock investing, as well as being able to differentiate between assets and liabilities. Mutual funds. Kiyosaki is generally skeptical about mutual funds, believing they often do not provide the best returns compared to other investment options. He criticized them for their fees and the lack of control investors have over in their investments. Income generating real estate. Real estate is a cornerstone of Kiyosaki investment philosophy. Generate passive income through rent, which can provide financial stability and growth. Kiyosaki suggests focusing on properties that offer positive cash flow. Understanding the offer positive cash flow market and leveraging financing to expand one's real estate portfolio. Overall, the Rich Dad Mindset is centered about continuous learning, strategic risk taking, leveraging asset to build a sustained wealth.
Both dads work hard but have opposing attitude. Study hard so you can find a good company to work for. In a sense, the effort you put in your education and skills building now can be paid off by helping you secure a position in a company that aligns with your career goals and value. Study hard so you can find a company to buy. Instead of just working for a company, the goal is to gain knowledge and skill needed to own and grow a business, creating wealth and achieving financial independence. The reason I must be rich. This mindset become rich isn't just about money. It's about gaining control over your time, making your money work for you, and creating opportunities to help others. Wealth allows to break free from the cycle of working for a paycheck and generating income, leading to a long-term financial independence and the ability to live life on your terms. Don't take risks. Philosophy teaches that avoiding all risks can be limit opportunities for growth and wealth creation. By educating yourself, you can take smart risks that lead to a greater financial reward and success. Learn to manage risks. By educating yourself, making important decisions, developing a solid financial strategy, you can effectively manage risks and the turn into opportunities for financial growth and independence. Instead of saying, I cannot afford that, you should ask, how can I afford that? This shifts thinking encourage you to find ways to generate income, create opportunities, and solve the financial challenge creatively. The idea is to focus on possibilities and solution rather than limitation, empowering you to take control your financial situation and build wealth. Learn to use emotions to think, not think with your emotion. Means emotion like fear and desire shouldn't drive your financial decision. Instead, you should recognize and understand your emotions, but use logic and knowledge to make informed choice. For example, fear might keep you from investing, a greed might push you into a risk decision. By using your emotions as a signal rather than letting them to control you can make smarter, more rational decisions that lead to financial success.
Life is short. There are lots of money in this world. If you are good, you have a fair share of it. The quote suggests that wealth is abundant, and if you are skilled or behave well, you will earn a fair share of it. Let's summarize the slide. The passage calculates that after accounting for sleep and work, a person has 27 years of their conscious life remaining. It prompts reflection on how much of this remaining time is spent on negative emotions and struggles, highlighting how much of our lives might be consumed by non-productive or negative experiences. This passage seems to break down a person's life expectancy and how much of it is spent on various activities and emotions. Let's go through it step by step. Life expectancy and awareness. The average life expectancy is given as 75 years. Awareness is assumed to begin at 12 years old, the age when a person becomes to start becoming more conscious of their life and decisions. Subtracting 12 from 55 gives 63 years of conscious life. Number 2. Time spent sleeping and working. It's assumed that a person sleeps 8 hours a day and work are 8 hours a day within an additional 2 hours possibly related to work. Ito na yung commuting, preparation, etc. It implies that a large portion of life is spent on these activities. 75% of the 34 years from age 26 to 60, likely the working years. It spends on sleeping and working. This calculates to 25.5 years. Sleeping, sleeping and working. So number 3, let remaining
for personal activities. After accounting for sleep and work, 27 years remain out of the 63 years of conscious life. The question then asks, how much of these 27 years are spent on a negative emotions or experiences like sadness, anger, frustration, or dealing with financial difficulties? So let's summarize the slide. The passage calculates that after accounting for sleep and work, a person has 27 years of their conscious life remaining. It prompts reflection on how much of this remaining time is spent on negative emotions and struggles, highlighting how much of our lives might be consumed by non-productive or negative experiences.
So, dito naman, general objectives. So, ang pinakauna is value proposition canvas. So, ginagamit ito sa isang business para i-align yung product or service para sa kailangan ng customers, and target dito is to addresses customers' needs. So, the next one is business model canvas. Isa siyang framework na binivisualize yung company's business model through 9 components. Ito sila: customer segments, value proposition, channels, customer relationship, revenue stream, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, and cost structures. At hinahelp lang niya ang business to understand and design how they create, deliver, and capture values. So, the next one is lean concept. Nagpo-focus siya sa maximizing customers' value while minimizing waste. Ang mga key principles dito is including defining value from the customer's perspective, analyzing and improving process to eliminate waste, ensuring smooth workflow. And ini-improve lang nila dito ay yung enhanced efficiency and responsive in various industry. Tas, next naman is Six Sigma. Six Sigma is a methodology aimed to improving process, quality, and reducing defects, fewer than 3.4 million opportunities. And the goal is to enhance efficiency and consistency in process. So, the next one is Pareto's Principles, also known as 80-20 rule. In practice, it suggests that the small proportion of inputs or activities often leads to major results or outcomes. So, dito, pinaprioritize nila yung effort by focusing on the most impactful areas. So, the last one is SWOT analysis. So, yung SWOT analysis is isa lang siyang strategic tool to use and identify and evaluate 4 key aspects of a business or project. It involves analyzing internal strengths and weaknesses as well as external opportunities and ang mga threats to inform decision making and strategic planning.
Technology may be defined in many ways, but for simplicity's sake in the relation to this subject, it is using scientific knowledge to give an easier solution to problems within the society and individual person. Technology make our life easier, like communication. Technology enables instant communication through smartphones, social media, and video conferencing, connecting people across the globe, fostering personal and professional relationship, like information access. The internet provides vast amount of information and educational resources, making learning and staying informed more accessible. Healthcare, medical technology improves diagnostic treatment and patient care, leading to better health outcomes and extended life expectancy. Transportation, advanced transportation technologies such as ride-sharing apps and electric vehicle make travel more efficient and environmentally friendly. Invention in its purest sense, in the creation of product, processes, or techniques which do not exist before. Invention involves creating something new or improving upon existing technologies, ideas, or processes to solve the problems or meet needs. Typically start with identifying the problem or opportunity, conceptualizing a solution, and then developing and testing the solution. Invention can range from simple tools and gadgets to complex system and technologies. Innovation is the process of modifying invention to improve it or make it better. In short, invention and innovation are related but not identical. Innovation is the process of introducing new ideas, methods, or product that bring significant improvement or create value, unlike invention, which focuses on creating something entirely new. Innovation often involves enhancing existing technologies or approaches to solve problems more effectively or efficiently.
Pumunta naman tayo sa pain points versus solutions. What are customer pain points? A pain point is a specific problem that prospective customers of yours are experiencing. In other words, you can think of pain points as the problem, plain and simple. A key component to marketing and business in general is understanding a customer's pain point and then delivering solutions to those pain points. However, a majority of marketers do not understand what pain points truly are, and instead think that solutions are the actual pain points. To further elaborate, pumunta tayo sa next slide para mabigyan kayo ng mga examples para maintindihan natin kung ano nga bang pagkakaiba ng pain points at solutions. Pain point versus solution examples. Makikita natin dito ang isang tao nakaupo at nakahawak sa tuhod niya. Nakasunod dito, not a pain point, it's a solution. Sinabi niya na, I need a bandage. Ang pain point, I need to stop my knees from bleeding. Second example, ang not a pain point, I need a 1/4 drill bit. At ang pain point ay I need to make a 1/4 inch hole. So, ano nga ba talaga ang pagkakaiba ng pain point at solutions? Base sa nakikita natin dito, ang pain point, yun yung problema. At yung solution, yun yung method or kailangan natin gawin para malutas yung problema. Simpleng-simple. Ang pain point natin, yun yung bagay na i-challenge tayo para mag-isip kung paano nga ba natin susolusyonan yung bagay na yun. So, para mas maintindihan natin kung ano nga bang pinagkaiba ng pain point at solution, pumunta tayo sa susunod na slide. Sabi dito, in the sketch on the previous slide, a marketer will hear someone saying they need a bandage. So, the marketer will present them with a bandage. Halimbawa, ako yung marketer at kaibigan ko ay may sugat sa tuhod. Bibigyan ko siya ngayon ng bandage. Bandage na malakas ang kapit pero hindi masakit kapag tinanggal mo. Bandage na can keep out infection. Yung bandage na cute, ganun. Yung may Olaf from Frozen na parang bibigyan ka ng nice warm hug kasi hindi siya masakit sa balat. Ang bandage ang solution, hindi siya ang pain point. The actual pain point is that the person wants to stop their leg from bleeding. At kung naintindihan natin na yun ang pain point, the marketing becomes very different. Pwedeng maging solusyon ng bandage. Pero yung bandage that can tightly pull together the wound to stop the bleeding. It would be the bandage that sticks to skin kahit na sobrang pawis na yung tao. Pwede ring maging solusyon yung medical glue para mapapatigil yung pagdugo ng tuhod niya.
Innovation comes from understanding true pain points. The quote, if you had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horse, highlights that true innovation comes from understanding the core problem. Not just to sacrifice desire, people didn't need better horse. They need faster, more efficient travel. Ford's genius was in recognizing the underlying need and creating the automobile, showing that innovations mean solving the real pain points, not just delivering on what people think they want. Identify pain points. When customers express a need, they often focus on the solution they think will address their problem rather than the problem itself. For example, someone asks for a 1/4 drill, but isn't concerned with the drill by itself. They need a 1/4 hole. To truly identify customer pain point, it's crucial to ask often need questions that explore the purpose behind their request. Instead of asking about the features they want in a drill, ask them what they're trying to achieve with it. By understanding the underlying need, you as the expert can recommend the most effective solution, whether it's the specific drill bit they ask for or a better alternative they hadn't considered. When you understand your customer underlying pain points, your approach to innovation transforms. Instead of hyping a solution, you focus on how it addresses their pain. This change the communication helps you to connect with your audience and build trust as they see that you truly understand their needs.
Customer is the person who pays the price and the purchase and the goods or services of a certain product of a business. Therefore, the customer is not essentially the end user as well. The customer may pay the price and buy the products and give them to a different person who becomes the end user. Minsan daw, hindi lagi yung customer ang gumagamit ng product na binili niya. Hindi siya yung end of user nito. Minsan pwede din na si customer yung bumili ng product at siya din yung magiging end of user. Pero hindi siya kadalasan ganun ang nangyayari. Ano naman? End of user. End of user is the person who consume or uses the goods or the services. The customer can be the end user as well. However, not in all cases. Nonetheless, it is the end user who will know the genuine quality and the nature of the product or the service since it is the end user who consume it. Ibig sabihin lang nito, ang lagi lang makakaalam kung gaano kaganda yung quality ng product or ng services ay yung end user dahil siya yung nag-consume nito at siya yung gumamit or siya yung nag-try ng product. Okay. Bigyan natin ng example. Product and services. Kuwari, diaper. Customer nyo dyan ay yung parents. Pero ang magko-consume dyan ay yung babies. Like ventilator. Ang customer nyo ay hospital. Pero ang magko-consume dyan ay yung patient. Like business software. Business software. Ang customer nyo dyan, company. Pero ang magko-consume dyan, end of user ay the employee. Engagement ring. Ang bumili, yung the boy, yung asawang lalaki. Pero ang end of user ay yung girl, yung mapapangasawa. Car. Yan, katulad ng car. Ito lang na iba. Car. Ang customer mo dyan yung owner. Pero ang magagamit din ng customer ay yung mag-end of user din ng car ay yung owner din. Dog food. Kung bibili ay yung amo, yung owner ng dog. Pero ang magkukonsume yan ay yung aso.
So, dito naman is what is stakeholder. So, ano nga bang stakeholder? Sila yung nag-i-invest or bumibili sila ng stock sa isang business na may kasamang interest. So, na-affect sila pagka lumalago yung business, kumikita rin sila. Pag naman bumabagsak din sila. So, na-affectuhan sila by the business if lumalago or hindi. So, based naman sa next slide, makita mo yung types of stakeholders. So, sa internal stakeholders, ito yung mga nakapalaman dun. Yung mga employees, managers, tsaka owners. Sila yung mga nasa loob ng stakeholders, nasa loob na sila ng company. So, ang nasa labas naman, ang mga external stakeholders ay mga suppliers, customers, society, government, shareholders, and creditors. Sila yung mga nasa labas ng stakeholders.
Influencer. An influencer is someone who has the power to affect the purchasing decisions of others because of their authority, knowledge, position, or relationship with their audiences. A following in a distinct niche, which whose they actively engage. The size of the following depends on the size of their topic of the niche.
Customer segments are different groups of people or organization your enterprise aims to reach and serve. This includes users who might not generate revenues, but which are necessary for the business model to work. Customer segments refers to the different groups of people or organizations that a business targets and serves with its products or services. These segments include not only paying customers but also other users who might not generate direct revenue but are still essential for the business model to function properly. Types of customer segments. Number 1 is mass market, targets a broad, general audience without much differentiation. Number 2 is niche market, focuses on a very specific, specialized group of customers. Number 3 is segment market, divides the broader market into smaller, distinctive groups which specific needed. Diversified market, services multiple customer segments which different needs of products. Now the last one is multi-sided market, involves serving two or more interdependent customers group.
Mass market. Products and services which targets the mass market segment have a broad appeal and often cover the overall population. The mass market approach doesn't really on any specific segmentation and instead aims to be efficient by treating everyone the same. In reality, there are very few companies that do this. Most companies applied some level of segmentation.
Naman tayo sa second customer segment. Ang second customer segment natin is tinatawag na niche market. A niche market refers to a specific customer segment with highly defined characteristics. This segment requires a highly tailored products, custom-made to suit their needs. Therefore, the value propositions, channels, ads, customers, relationships are tightly defined by the preferences of this particular customer segments. So, ano nga ba ang niche market? Ang niche market ay isang maliit na part ng market na may special na pangangailangan or interest. Halimbawa na lang, kung ang market ay malawak, ang niche market ay nakafocus lamang sa isang specific na grupo na may particular na need na hindi matutugunan ng mga karaniwang produkto. Example na lang natin dito is ang gluten-free na bakery. Gluten-free na bakery items. Ang target ng mga gluten-free bakery items ay yung mga tao na may celiac disease or gluten intolerance, which mainstream bakeries cannot fully address. Next on our list is ang tinatawag na segmented. Medyo mahaba yung nasa PowerPoint, so i-explain ko na lang siya ng maiklian. Ang segmented markets ay ang paghahati ng malaking market into smaller groups na may magkakaparehong pangangailangan or interest. Naglalayon to na mas mahusay na matugunan ang specific na pangangailangan ng bawat grupo sa pamamagitan ng pag-target sa kanila ng mas epektibo at paggawa ng mga personalized na produkto. Halimbawa na lang, kung ang target market ko ay ang mga teenager, ang produkto na pwede kong i-benta sa kanila ay acne treatment. Ang para naman sa mga senior citizen, ang pwede ko ibenta sa kanila ay anti-aging cream. Papasok to ngayon sa market na pwede nating tawagin na produkto ng pampaganda. Kumbaga, isa siyang maliit na grupo at may mga parehong pangangailangan or interest yung mga target market ko. Next naman sa list natin ay tinatawag na diversified markets. From the word diverse meaning iba-iba o may pagkakaiba-iba tumutukoy sa pagkakaroon ng iba't ibang uri or katangian or aspekto ng isang bagay or isang grupo. So, ang diversified market ay tumutukoy sa isang market or kumpanya na nag-aalok ng iba't ibang produkto or serbisyo sa iba't ibang industriya or sektor. Ang ganitong uri ng merkado ay tumutulong upang mabawasan ang panganib at makuha ang mga pagkakataon sa maraming larangan. Halimbawa na lang nito ay yung mga retailers. Retailers tulad ng Shopee, Lazada, or Amazon na madalas natin ginagamit. Itong mga retailers na to ay nag-aalok ng iba't ibang produkto mula sa libro or electronics hanggang sa grocery at cloud services na sa iisang market lang natin makukuha. Last naman natin ay yung tinatawag na multi-sided platforms. Some organizations need to attract 2 or more independent customer segments belonging to 2 or more totally different sides in order to succeed. So ano nga ba ang multi-sided markets or multi-sided platforms? Ito yung mga negosyo na nag-uugnay sa iba't ibang grupo ng tao sa iisang platform lang. Halimbawa, isang online marketplace na nagko-connecta sa mga nagbebenta at mamimili. Halimbawa na lang is yung Shopee. Nakakapagbenta doon yung mga seller at sa platform na yon at nagagamit din yun ng mga buyer para makakapag-consume sila ng mga product ng seller na yun na ginagawa lang nila sa iisang platform lang. Or, isang ride-sharing app, sabihin na natin Grab, na nagko-connecta sa mga driver at pasahero. Kumbaga, nagbe-benefit ang pasahero at yung driver sa iisang platform lang. So, ang bawat grupo nakikinabang mula sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa isa't isa sa platform na yon.
What is market segmentation? Market segmentation is the process of dividing target customer segments into smaller, more precise cluster. It is used to precise categorize customer segments and audiences into groups that share similar characteristics. Market segmentation is the process of breaking down a broad group of potential customers into smaller, more specific groups. Each group shares similar characteristics, making it easier for businesses to tailor their products and marketing strategies to meet the needs of each segment. Types of market segments. Number 1, demographic segmentation. Divides the market based on measurable characteristics like age, gender, income, and education. It's commonly used because demographic data is easy to obtain and provides a straightforward way to target different groups. Number 2, psychographic segmentation. Categorize that market based on psychological traits such as personality, values, and lifestyle. It helps businesses connect with customers on a deeper level by understanding their motivations and interests. Number 3 is behavioral segmentation. This segments the market based on consumers' behavior like purchase patterns, brand loyalty, and usage rates. It helps businesses tailor their offerings to meet the specific needs and habits of different customers group. Number 4 is geographic segmentation. It divides the market based on location, such as country, region, or city. It allows businesses to customize their products and marketing strategies to fit the preference and needs of customers in different areas. This is the one of the most popular and commonly used types of market segmentation. It refers to statistical data about a group of people. Demographic segmentation is a way for business to group people based on basic, measurable information about them. It's one of the most common methods because it's simple and used to understand. For example, businesses might group customers by age, targeting product to children, teenagers, or seniors. Gender, creating products or marketing differently to men and women. Number 3 is income, offering luxury items to high earners or budget-friendly option to those with lower incomes. Another one is occupation, tailored service to professional like doctors or teachers. The next one is education, focusing on people with different levels of schooling. The last one is ethnicity, catering to cultural or ethnic group with specific needs of or preferences. By using demographical segmentation, companies can better target their products and marketing efforts to specific group of people who are most likely to be interested in what they offer.
Psychographic segmentation involves categories, audience, and customer base on their personalities and characteristics like personality, value, attitude, interest, lifestyle, motivation, and priorities. By understanding this aspect, business can be tailor their marketing efforts, connect their target audience on a deeper personality level. Behavioral segmentation focus on how customers interact with the products rather than who they are, like purchasing habits, spending habits, brand interaction. By analyzing this behavior, business can be better understand customer actions and tailor their strategies to meet specific needs and preference. Geographic segmentation is a straightforward method of marketing segmentation, driving customer based on their geographic location, like country, province, city, barangay, street, radius around a certain location, climate, urban, or rural areas. This approach helps business target specific regions and tailor their marketing strategies to local preference and needs. It's essential to focus customer to be informed about the benefits of a product or service, even if they already understand its basic purpose. Informing the customer about the benefits is crucial because it's not only clarifies the value of the offering but also build trust, differentiate your product, and ultimately drives purchasing decision. A man who stopped advertising to save money is like a man who stopped the clock to save time. Highlight the short-sightedness of cutting advertising to save money. Just stopping a clock doesn't actually stop time. Stopping advertising doesn't save money in the long run. Advertising essentials for keeping business visible, attracting customers. Without it, a business might save money in the short term but risk losing awareness, customers, and ultimately revenue. Ford is emphasizing that advertising is necessary investment and cutting in the harm of the business growth. Sustainability, just as stopping a clock doesn't help manage time, it's only create illusion of doing so. Doing business without advertising is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you are doing but nobody else does. Just as winking in the dark might feel meaningful to a person doing it, but is unnoticed by others. Running business without advertising means effort, and offering remain unseen by potential customer. Advertising is crucial for marketing your business known. Communication your value, attracting attention without it. Even if best product or service can go unnoticed, limiting your success and growth. Milan Kundera. Business has two functions. Marketing and innovation highlights that marketing drives sales and builds brand presence, while innovation creates new value and keep business competitive. Both are essential a business success.
Here's the quote from Leo Burnett. Make it simple. Make it memorable. Make it inviting to look at, but it fun to read. Leo Burnett is saying that when you're creating something, especially in advertising or communication, It should be easy to understand, easy to remember, visually appealing, and enjoyable to engage with. By keeping things simple and fun, people are more likely to notice and remember your message. Internet is becoming the town square for the global village of tomorrow by Bill Gates. Bill Gates is saying that the internet is becoming a central place where people from all over the world can come together, just like a town square in a small village where everyone gathers to share news, ideas, and connect with each other. As the world becomes more connected, the internet will play a key role in bringing people closer, no matter where they live.
So, the next one is value proposition. So, sinasabi dito na isa lang siyang simple statement na naka-summarize na sinasabi na bakit kailangan yung customer is piliin yung product or yung service mo. And kailangan mabigyan mo ng magandang benefit yung customer na bibigay mong business sa kanya. So, the next slide is sinasabi rin dito na pwede siyang maging business or marketing statement para sa isang company. So, sinasabi dito na dapat marunong ka makipag-usap sa isang customer para mabili niya or makipag-negotiate sa'yo para mabigyan mo siya ng magandang service or a product. So, dito naman sa next slide. So, ito yung pinaka-importante sa element ng overall marketing mo or ng isang company. So, marunong ka dapat kausapin and marunong mo dapat i-finalize yung mga business proposal mo or mga talks mo about sa business para makuha mo yung loob ng isang customer. And para mabigyan mo siya ng isang crystal clear na benefits galing sa iyong business.
The value proposition pertains to the benefit that customer will get upon buying the product. As a promise by the company who owns it, it actually a statement which serves as a window for the customer to see clearly what certain brands could offer and its advantage to our other competitor. Parang yan, sa Safeguard, sabi nila sa nilang ads, it kills 99.9% ng germs. Na ngayon, yun ang pangahawakan ng customer or ng consumer para i-compare sa other products. Katulad ng mga sabong panlaba, yung sa may type, yung mga puting damit na madidilaw na napapaputi pa nila. Yun naman ang panlaban nila sa other competitor nilang other brand. Para ano lang yun? Competitors war. The praise value proposition BP is credited to Michael Lanning and Edward Michaels, who first used the term in 1988 stock paper for the consulting firm McKinsey and Incorporated in the paper, which was titled "A Business is a Value Delivery System." The author defines the value proposition as a clear, simple statement of the benefits, both tangible and intangible, that the company will provide along the approximate price it will charge each customer segment for those benefits. Tangible benefits are those that can be measured in financial terms, while intangible benefits cannot be quantified directly in economic terms. These benefits include customer satisfaction. Tangible benefits, concrete measurable advantage that can be directly observed or quantified. This might include financial gains, physical improvements, or other specific outcomes that can be easily quantified and evaluated. For example, a tangible benefits of upgrading equipment and factory might be increased production efficiency or reduce maintenance costs. Like the other naman, intangible benefits. Intangible benefits are advantage that are not easily measured or quantified but still have significant value. This can include improve employee morale, enhance brand reputation, increase the customer satisfaction, or better organizational culture. While they might not have a direct numerical value, they can contribute greatly to long-term success and overall effectiveness.
So, pumunta naman tayo sa project benefits. Ang project benefits ay nahahati sa dalawa. Tinatawag na tangible at intangible benefits. So, ang tangible benefits, ito yung mga benefits or benepisyo na maaaring makita or maramdaman natin physically o maramdaman ng direkta. Samantalang yung intangible benefits naman, ito yung mga benepisyo na hindi natin directly nakikita or nasusukat, pero may mga nabibigay siya na mahahalagang epekto. Halimbawa na lang, sumali ako sa isang gym membership. Sa gym membership na yun, ang tangible benefit ko is magkakaroon ako ng access sa modern equipments at sa mga fitness classes, ganon. Pero ang intangible benefits niya naman is magkakaroon ako ng improved self-esteem at motivation mula sa regular na pag-exercise. So, no one ever got rich working 9 to 5. Para sa akin, tama naman, hindi ka talaga yayaman kung mai-stuck ka lang sa pagtatrabaho kasi kahit siguro ang maging sahod ko sa isang araw is sabihin natin 3,000 sa isang araw yung magiging sahod ko. Hindi naman ako makakasigurado na kahit i-save up ko yun, it will last me a lifetime. So, ayun, sa akin lang, upang makamit natin yung tunay na kayamanan, need natin ng further pagsisikap tulad ng pagnenegosyo or pamumuhunan or iba pang pagkakataon na may mas mataas na potensyal para sa higit na flexibility sa buhay natin. Ayon kay Warren Buffett or Buffet, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So, para sa akin, tama naman siya. Kasi kung talagang alam mo yung ginagawa mo, kung halimbawa man na magkaroon ka ng problema sa kung ano man yung ginagawa mo, madali mo siyang masusolusyonan kung alam mo kung ano man yung ginagawa mo. So, para sa akin, bago ka muna gumawa ng isang bagay, alamin mo muna or siguraduhin mong alam mo muna kung ano yung mga pasikot-sikot or yung mga bagay na kailangan mong gawin bago mo siya gawin para hindi ka mahirapan in the process sa habang ginagawa mo siya.